Hey guys, welcome back to the WPC Plus. We're here to talk about some more busts that will keep busting, this time hitter version. Now, there are a lot of hitters that have had some rough first halves, and you think maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe not. So, Nick, let's get right to it. I have a name on the top of my mind I've been thinking about a lot lately, and that is Cody Bellinger. Uh, we've seen this before, right? We've seen this where he looks like an MVP one year and then just complete trash the next year. And I hate to admit it, but at this point, I'm kind of done because I don't see any signs of improvement. And I hope you're going to convince me otherwise because I'm about to pull the trigger and hit that drop button.
Oh, I hope you're not counting on me to sell you on Bellinger because I don't think I can do it. He looks lost. I mean, there's like there's issues all there's not a lot of good to be found in his in either his actual numbers or his looking at his Statcast expected numbers, and just watching him play, like, he looks lost. Like he flails at balls. Just looking at his actual numbers, batting average is horrible. It's 163. 163. Cody Bellinger, like, first round draft pick. His batting average is 163. His XBA is 40 points higher, but it's still 207. So that's not really that positive. He's got a 251 woba. Once again, his x woba is like 40 points higher, but it's still at a 296. That's below average. And he's hitting the his stats are so weird to look at because his ground balls are down, his fly balls are way up, but they're bad fly balls. Like, he's just hitting cans of corn all over the place. And set a career high in his top percent, just how often you top the ball. He's also got a career high in his under percent. So he's never really hitting the ball, like, in the middle of the baseball. So he is a mess up and down. So I don't know if I can sell you on anything, Pierre.
I was afraid of that. Yeah, just watching the other day, and even the announcer said like he just looks lost. I mean, he's flailing at balls like you said. Weighted runs created. This is of course the weighted pod created, but one of the most popular stats out there to figure out a player's value is the weighted run created, and his is believe it or not at a 59. That's one of the lowest.
59. Like,
59 in the majors. Again, 100 being just average.
yeah.
Okay, and yeah, it's just hard to believe. I don't know if this is like a championship hangover kind of thing or just a general hangover thing or what, but it's been all season. And like I said, every pitch type, you pointed this out against the four seamer, hitting 161 with an XBA of 173. Against the slider, 133 with an XBA of 199. The only thing he's actually kind of hitting well is a changeup, but he only sees that 13% of the time. So
Sliders are making
everything
him look
else.
foolish. Like, he's really struggling. Just,
But even just the fastball, just the straight up four seamer, it's just,
yeah.
it's not happening. So I do think now, I guess let's talk more specifically because people ask, well, do I just drop him? Do I try to trade? If so, you're not going to get much in return. In a keeper league, no, you can't. You just hold because you will get absolutely nothing back in a dynasty
Yeah.
league. In a regular redraft league, if you're a contender and you're going, I mean, do you just what do you do at this point? Would you hold on just for hope and stash him, or do you clear up a roster spot?
No, as down as I am, I'd try to get anything for him. Like, you try to sell that name as much as possible. Like, you can. I mean, he's had a terrible year, but he still has that name, and you can still get something. Like, I just because I don't have any, like, future hope for him. We just went over all those numbers. Nothing. Uh, you know, maybe he just flips that switch all of a sudden. But we've seen bad Cody Bellinger for a while now, and watch some of his at bats and see if there's any sort of confidence there. So yeah, you know, you stash him only if you can't trade him. Like, I'm not dropping him just because someone's gonna pick him up. Like, I try not to drop people that'll just immediately be picked up. Like, you can get something for him though. Like, try to fill some small hole, a bargain basement Cody Bellinger sale and see what you can get.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody out there still has hope, right? Because, but like you're right. What reason do we have to think that he'll just magically turn around all of a sudden? Because nothing in this year says he will. And just remember, he wasn't that great last year either, right? So
No,
you're
yeah,
really
that's the
thinking,
thing. Like,
oh, he was amazing a couple of years ago, but that's
yeah,
not a good reason to keep a player in your lineup because he was good 2 years ago. So yeah, and then let's not forget the Dodgers lineup is just kind of a shell of what it was last year. We got everybody else hurt. Seager's still hurt now. Mookie Betts is hurt.
yeah.
So it's rough. All right, moving on to not more pleasant news, but another bust who will keep busting probably. We're going with Kevin Biggio. I run through StatCast numbers every week for one of my articles I do, and his name has popped up a couple times as a guy who just isn't getting it done. A lot of people were worried about the plate discipline. Like, yeah, he walks a lot, but he also strikes out a lot. Thinking, okay, well, he'll still get me the homers and the steals I need. Not really doing that too much either. The power's kind of okay, but he's not stealing bases. His lineup spot's not great. This is a lineup where everybody should be really good. He hasn't been. So what's the problem with Biggio this year?
No, yeah, I mean, and you said it with the, all the things we were, like, there's nothing spectacular about Biggio. It's just you were getting a lot of little things like batting at the top of the order on a really good offense. You're like, okay, like, the counting stats should be there. Like, not a lot of power, but a little bit of power, not a lot of stolen bases, but a little bit, double digits on both. And, not a great average, but getting on base a ton, like, especially like, I have him in an OBP league, and it's like that's his value supposed to be really, really jumped up in those leagues, and he's got a 320 OBP this year. So it's like he's got a 220 batting average. You weren't expecting that, but you also weren't expecting you knew he was like a 240, 250 guy, but just in the doldrums of batting average, not getting on base, striking out even more than he did last year, walks are way down, like it's just it's all going, he's not giving you anything anywhere, and right now I don't see like a lot of hope on the upswing here.
Yeah, like this point you'd be thrilled with the 250 average. Really, you'd be like, all
Yeah,
right,
oh yeah,
come back. I mean, at least closer to average. His XBA right now is what 197.
197,
So he
bottom
could be doing
1% of
worse.
baseball.
Let's
Like,
let's keep that in mind. He's overachieving on that batting average.
yeah,
And not batting at the top of the lineup anymore like we thought he would be. And it's just, what? I think a lot of people were kind of sounding the alarm on him. Might be a little overhyped, partly because of the name, partly because of that young team with all the prospects. It's just not coming together. So again, I don't think we're going to see much different than what we have seen so far. Um, Again, in
yeah,
a
and
keeper league, maybe keep him, but still.
yeah, like and man, he really he struggles versus left-handers like a lot. He's got a 323 WOBA this year versus right-handers, which isn't great, but it's at least creeping up on average. But a 227 WOBA versus left-handers with a 35% strikeout rate. Like, he's not doing anything versus lefties, and that it's like splits problems don't go away. Like, they just keep compounding usually. So that's there's just I'm certainly not buying Biggio, and if he like Bellinger on the other hand, you can probably get something for Bellinger just because of the name. Like, good luck trying to get something for Biggio. Like, he keeps going like this, and he can just turn into a cut. But right now I'm not cutting him, but sure, if you can shop him for something, feel free.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the reason we talk about this, by this point, again, we're almost in August. You can't keep holding out hope based on potential, right? It could
Yeah,
happen. Like, he's got this,
you
and
got 2 months left.
maybe next year, but at this point, yeah, don't hold out hope. It's not going to just magically change just because the calendar flips. So one thing that could change, though, one last name we talk about, and that's Trevor Story. Could be changing uniforms any day now, maybe any second now. We shall see. Long rumored to be traded, didn't happen, but the deadline almost upon us. So, two questions here. First of all, do you think that we've seen the best of Trevor Story because kind of past that prime age and now maybe moving out of Colorado? Do you think that that's going to help him for the rest of this season? And then do you think that he's going to show some improvement based on what he's had so far this year? A little bit underachieving. I know he's still got the 12 homers. That's okay. It's not amazing. Not what we expect from him. A lot of his value propped up by the stolen bases. But do you think that it'll be enough to make him what he was worth, a first round pick in fantasy? So I think that was probably like 8 questions tied together. Feel free to answer anything.
That's all right. We'll tackle him. Yeah, you brought up the stolen bases. Like, man, if he didn't have 17 stolen base, like right now he's looking at the using the Fangraphs auction calculator, he is the 67th best hitter right now. So not awful. I mean, it's pretty awful if you drafted him in the first round, which is what his ADP was. But still not like an absolute having a terrible year, but that is all being held together by his 17 stolen bases. Power below, home runs below average, runs and RBI, both like right about average, and batting at 240 batting average with a 242 XBA. So if Story hadn't just started stealing bases like gangbusters this year, like he'd be a replacement level player as far as his other stats go. As far as the other stuff, as far as like best of Trevor Story, no, I don't think we have. I've never been crazy about him, but it's just he gives you a lot of everything usually, except for this year. Like I don't think that the batting average seems like an aberration. Like he's never had a batting average problem. I know, yeah, cores and whatnot, but I don't think he is a product of cores. I think this is just a down year on a bad team where they got rid of Arenado. There's constant trade rumors they're going to get rid of him. Like it just doesn't seem. Don't feel like Trevor Story is really enjoying this year of baseball so much. So I don't think, he's still young. Like even if he gets traded out of Colorado, like he still has, wherever he goes, he's going to bat at the top of the order. So run RBI, that's never going to be an issue. Like I still think even outside of cores, I still think he has power and the batting average will come back. It's just that's, after this year, like as far as this year, like, sure, maybe he gets traded somewhere and that invigorates him. And he's like, yeah, sure. If he gets traded to someone really good, like even going outside of cores, like, yeah, I'll be back in on Story. But as far as things right now, things just look just tepid and just languishing. And just seems like he's kind of treading water until the season gets done.
That's a great way. That's rarely do we hear a baseball player described as tepid, but that's a perfect way to describe it. His average is 240, his XBA is 242. It's just there. His home run, his power, again, it's not anything that you can't find from, maybe even the waiver wire, depending on your league. I covered this a few days ago talking about expected home run rate. And there's this weird course thing I won't get into. I think you tried to explain it to me. I didn't get it, but basically course is weird for that in StatCast. It's offset by the environmental factor, but his expected home run rate is a lot higher in other parks. He could be doing better. He might do better, and who knows? Maybe just the fact that he's free, from that whole situation, that franchise, maybe invigorates him. Maybe he's jacked up for a pennant run with some other team, and of course, being in a place like Yankee Stadium, where his expected home runs so far this year 27, if you can believe it. Of course, he wouldn't play all his games there, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a power surge if he is traded. But that said, I also won't be surprised if then he runs less, because the Yankees aren't a team that runs a whole lot, and they won't need, they're not getting him for that. He's running loose because, Colorado kind of needs to manufacture runs. That's why the Marlins are always among the leaders in stolen bases, because they need to. So that kind of offsets it. So again, you get a mediocre average. Maybe you'll get more power, but maybe you'll get less steals. You're still kind of going to get the same story. Okay. That's a great way to
I
end. I really
apologize,
appreciate it.
America.
Sorry. Okay. I couldn't resist. So, anyways, yeah, those are just three. There's some other players we'll talk about in future episodes that maybe we'll turn some things around, but those are our busts at hitter who we think will keep busting. Check out our other episode also on pitchers. All right, guys, thanks for watching.